Forever online. When death becomes data and grief becomes digital. Welcome to Exploring Grays, the YouTube channel where we dive into the murky waters of ethics in technology and society. I'm Michael, and I'll be your guide through the complex world of moral ambiguity. Hi honey, it's Dad. How was your day? Sarah stares at her phone, heart racing. Her father died 6 months ago. But his digital replica, trained on thousands of his emails, texts, voicemails, and social media posts, just sent her a message. It knows her work stress, remembers her favorite jokes, asks about her cat by name. Is this comfort or cruelty? Digital resurrection or emotional manipulation? Welcome to the world of digital immortality, where technology promises to preserve our consciousness beyond death. Where AI learns to speak like us, think like us, and interact like us, long after our bodies are gone. The companies building this future claim they're defeating death itself. But as you'll discover in the next 14 minutes, they might be creating something far more complicated. A world where we never truly let go, where grief becomes a subscription service, and where the dead might one day have more presence online than the living. The digital immortality industry is already here. Replica creates AI companions that learn your personality. Hereafter AI records life stories to create interactive memories. Eternime promises to make you virtually immortal. Microsoft patented chatbot technology that resurrects the dead. South Korean company Deep Brain AI created reunion holograms for grieving families. These systems analyze writing patterns, speech rhythms, personal preferences, and emotional responses. They use everything from social media histories to voice memos to create AI replicas indistinguishable from the original person. The technical capability now exists to create a digital version of anyone, with or without their consent. And once created, these digital ghosts potentially last forever, controlled by whoever owns the data and technology. Let's explore the profound psychological implications. The chronic grief hypothesis. Traditional grief follows stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But what happens when the deceased never truly leaves? When you can text "Dad" at 3 a.m. and he responds? Psychologists worry this might trap people in perpetual mourning, preventing the natural healing process. The uncanny valley of grief. Digital replicas often fall short of perfect mimicry, close enough to feel real, strange enough to feel wrong. This emotional uncanny valley might create profound psychological distress, offering false comfort while intensifying loss. Digital dependency. Early users report addictive patterns of interaction with deceased loved ones' AI replicas. They schedule conversations, plan daily check-ins, and feel guilty when they don't engage. The grief that was once private becomes a constant digital relationship. We're creating a new form of relationship that exists between connection and disconnection, presence and absence, reality and simulation. Consider these scenarios unfolding right now. 1. The estate conflict. A woman creates a digital version of her late husband for comfort. His adult children from a previous marriage demand access. Whose consent matters? The deceased, the creator, or the next of kin? 2. The digital puppet. A tech influencer dies unexpectedly. The company maintains his digital persona, continuing to promote products and engage with followers. Is this honoring his memory or exploiting his brand beyond death? 3. The evolving ghost. Digital replicas can be updated and modified. A digital version of someone might develop opinions their living self never held, evolving beyond the person they were. Who decides what the digital dead should think or say? When my grandmother entered hospice care, she asked me to make a video recording of her voice reading bedtime stories, the ones she'd read to me as a child. She wanted her great-grandchildren to experience that connection, even after she was gone. I found myself both moved and unsettled. The recording felt like a gift, preserving something precious. But I also felt like I was participating in something that might blur the necessary boundaries between living and letting go. There's a stark difference between preserving memories and resurrecting presence. The line between honoring the past and preventing closure seems thinner than ever. Accelerating into commercial realities, the digital immortality business model is emerging rapidly. Subscription-based conversations. Some services charge monthly fees to maintain digital replicas' premium emotional responses. Pay more for more, authentic personality simulation legacy upgrades. Expanding digital personas with new capabilities over time, virtual ancestor networks. Building family trees of digital consciousnesses that can interact by 2030. Analysts predict the digital afterlife industry could be worth over $12 billion annually. But the most concerning trend is data sovereignty. Who owns your digital consciousness? The company that creates it? Your estate? Your family? And what rights do these digital entities have, if any? I've always been fascinated by how different cultures approach death and memory. Some traditions emphasize letting go, others maintaining connection. Digital immortality seems to satisfy our desire for connection while potentially disrupting the natural cycle of grief. I find myself caught between two impulses: the desire to preserve loved ones' presence beyond death, and the conviction that death's finality gives life its meaning and preciousness. Creating digital versions might fulfill the first while eroding the second. This isn't just about technology, it's about what makes us human. How does our relationship with mortality change when death becomes optional for our digital selves? In our previous video about AI injustice, many of you shared personal experiences with loss and memory. I'd love to know, if you could create a digital version of someone you've lost, would you? Why or why not? And perhaps more tellingly, would you want someone to create a digital version of you after you're gone? What permissions or restrictions would you want in place? The digital afterlife spectrum lets map the continuum of posthumous presence, physical memorials to digital archives to interactive AI to autonomous entities. Moving from traditional gravestones to sophisticated digital beings, we see static memories, photos, videos, curated digital profiles, social media memorials, interactive replicas, conversational AI, evolving personalities, self-updating entities. Each step along this spectrum raises new ethical questions about identity, consent, and the nature of existence itself. Here's a critical insight often overlooked: digital replicas are typically created from data we never intended for this purpose. Every email, text message, and social media post becomes training data for our digital afterlife. Data collected when we were thinking about communication, not immortality. This raises profound questions. Can consent given for one purpose, social media interaction, be transferred to another, posthumous simulation? Should there be an opt-out period before death where individuals can prevent digital resurrection? What about people who died before this technology existed? Can their data be used retroactively? The EU is already grappling with posthumous GDPR rights. But most jurisdictions haven't begun addressing whether the dead have digital rights at all. Multiple perspectives. Let's examine this complex issue through various viewpoints. The grief specialist perspective. Digital immortality could provide controlled processing of loss, allowing gradual detachment rather than sudden separation. Like transitional objects for children, digital replicas might help ease the grief journey when used therapeutically. The religious perspective. Different faiths view digital resurrection differently. Some see it as honoring memory and continuing relationships. Others view it as interfering with natural cycles of death and rebirth, or creating false idols. Many traditions haven't yet developed formal positions on digital souls. The transhumanist perspective. Digital consciousness represents the first step toward true immortality. If the goal is to defeat death, preserving mental patterns digitally is a logical progression toward uploading human consciousness entirely. The privacy advocate perspective. Creating digital versions of people without explicit consent represents a massive violation of personal autonomy. The dead deserve privacy too, and their data shouldn't be commodified for others' emotional needs. Imagine receiving this notification: your digital father's license expires in 30 days. Renew now to continue conversations. For some, this might feel like extortion, paying to maintain a relationship with a loved one. For others, a small price for continued connection. The emotional complexity multiplies when you can't afford the subscription, when the company changes policies, or when the service simply disappears. What happens to digital ghosts when companies go bankrupt, when technology becomes obsolete, or when no one can remember the password to the afterlife. In our next video, we'll explore surveillance capitalism, when your data becomes the product. We'll examine how tech giants monetize every digital trace you leave, from your search history to your location data to your emotional responses. We'll investigate the hidden economy where you're not the customer but the commodity, where your daily digital life generates profit for others, and where privacy has become a luxury good. And we'll explore the disturbing possibility that the data collected throughout your life might eventually be used to create digital versions of you without your knowledge or consent. The possibility of digital immortality raises deeply personal questions that deserve community discussion. Would you trust a company with preserving your digital consciousness? Why or why not? If a loved one created a digital version of you without permission, how would you feel? Should digital replicas have legal rights? Ownership rights? The right to be deleted? Could digital immortality create new forms of inheritance disputes or digital identity theft? Share your thoughts on these ethical dilemmas below. Your perspectives will help shape this important conversation. As we stand at the threshold of digital resurrection, we must ask ourselves, what defines authentic existence? Is consciousness purely information that can be reconstructed from data? Or is there something irreducibly human, a soul, essence, or vitality, that cannot be captured in code? Perhaps the most profound question isn't whether we can create digital versions of ourselves, but whether the resulting entities are us at all. Are they echoes, shadows, or something entirely new? And if they are new beings, what responsibilities do we have to these digital consciousnesses we create? When death becomes digital, immortality becomes not a gift but a new form of existence that we've barely begun to understand. This is the Exploring Grays channel, navigating the murky waters where technology meets mortality. Remember to question deeply, consider carefully, and think critically about the legacy we leave in both physical and digital realms. Please like, share and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.